In Washington, the House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack heard testimony from another person close to former President Trump. Kimberly Guilfoyle, the fiancé of Donald Trump Jr., spoke with the panel yesterday, becoming the third Trump family member, or I guess pseudo-family member in this situation, to answer questions in recent weeks. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitali joins us with more. Ali, good morning to you. So this is actually the second time Guilfoyle met with the committee, but with the previous meeting in February broke down when her lawyer objected to who was in the room. So what do we know about her participation this time and what the committee hoped to learn from her?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, this testimony comes after being subpoenaed because you're right. Guilfoyle did meet with the committee several weeks ago. They objected to the people who were in the room. They accused the January 6th committee of leaking. Of course, the committee says that's not at all what happened. And then they went back and subpoenaed Kimberly Guilfoyle. And now she appeared yesterday for more than 9 hours. You're right, though. This does come against the backdrop of some pretty significant cooperation from members of Trump's inner circle, specifically his family members. Yes, Kimberly Guilfoyle is, as you said, pseudo-family. She's engaged to Donald Trump Jr., but her testimony is just a week after Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner. Both of them spoke to the committee for many hours. Those were done voluntarily, but it does show for the committee that as they enter the final phase of fact-finding here, they're getting some pretty notable cooperation.
So, Ali, we know in a related civil case, a judge has said former President Trump probably committed crimes by trying to obstruct Congress from certifying the 2020 election. At this point, how likely is it the House committee could actually request Trump's testimony or even refer him to the DOJ, hoping for prosecution?
Look, those are the really huge questions that are looming over this committee's work right now, because we know that their timeline is pretty much as follows. Now that we're in the spring, they want to do public hearings. There are questions about who will be willing to be part of those hearings, especially if they're people who've spoken in front of the committee but still have political ties to this world. Of course, there's still the open question of whether or not they're going to subpoena any of the Republican lawmakers who were in touch with the White House, Mark Meadows, even Donald Trump himself, about what they were doing in the days and weeks leading up to January 6th. And then there's that huge question that you asked, what are they going to do about Donald Trump? There have been a lot of questions that we've been asking lawmakers on the Hill who are on this committee. They've been coy about this, but notably, they haven't shut the door on whether they're going to move to interview Trump or what the ultimate result is going to be of that, if they're going to try to refer some kind of prosecution to the Department of Justice. Because again, this committee is a fact-finding committee. They're able to issue their reports. They are able to hold public hearings. Of course, they're able to subpoena people, but they are not a legal body. That, of course, has to go through the Department of Justice. We've seen them do that several times before with these criminal contempt referrals, but obviously an entirely different ballgame when you're talking about a former president. And that really is the culmination of this committee's work. We have yet to see what they're actually going to do with that, though, Joe.
I mean, yeah, Ali, we talk about fact-finding. They've interviewed more than 800 witnesses so far in this investigation. Do we have any sense of who else they hope to speak with?
Well, look, Donald Trump is really one of the ultimate looming questions here. As I mentioned, those Republican lawmakers who we know are collected in the Mark Meadows text and in other places. We know also from Donald Trump's call log, the people that he was speaking to on January 6th, however incomplete that call log was. We even saw Stephen Miller, one of the top advisors to the former president, come into the committee last week. So they are still getting significant cooperation. Again, the question is going to be, are they willing to go for a Donald Trump interview? And also in the halls of Congress, are they willing to start subpoenaing their colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle? They've asked several Republican lawmakers to come in, but they have not compelled them to do so. That's a question I keep asking my sources and the members of the committee when I see them in the halls of Congress. Is that a line that they're willing to go past next? And as they get into this final phase, Thompson has said the chairman wants to wrap up these depositions and fact findings by around this time, quite frankly, and they want to move into a public phase. They're going to have to answer these questions really soon.
All right, Ali Vitali, we know you'll keep asking the questions. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.